Hello, our topic is effective workplace discipline. My name's Ryan.
My name is Jack.
And my name is Jason.
So, what is effective workplace discipline? The definition, the regulations or conditions that are imposed on employees by management in order to either correct or prevent detrimental behaviors. What it's not meant to be. Workplace discipline is not meant to embarrass or degrade employees. You want to focus on their performance and what they're doing and not them personally. Instead, look at three factors: repercussions, what short or long-term effects can their behavior have, rationale, looking at all the factors around the situation, and what lessons you want to try to convey. And there's three types of discipline. The first one is preventative. This is measures taken to avert misbehavior. So an example of this would be a teacher having a fun and exciting curriculum to keep the students engaged. The second type is supportive, which is stopping misbehavior in the earliest stages. An example of this would be getting your workers back on task if they veer off task. And corrective, which is punishing bad behavior after it's occurred. An example of this would be giving a student detention.
So then we get into why is effective workplace discipline important. Discipline is important because in the workplace, it helps supervisory personnel ensure that employees adhere to established company rules and policies. Really, when it breaks down to, it handles misconduct, investigation, decisions, and then down into what does the company actually do for discipline. Really, when you break down into it, it's sort of like a straight strategy they go through. It's a 4-step process, sort of like what they do, the decision, which like that's what it handles. Later, we'll learn about like what steps are great to set in a effective workplace discipline. But next slide, what does workplace discipline do? It really, when you break it down, it helps maintain a workplace standard. It controls the problems that a company may have, helps negate serious problems, and helps avoid lawsuits. It's really like a control, and it sets an overall sense that the every person in the company can go by. And then who does this affect? Really, it affects every stage of the workplace and can even affect the consumer based on how the company is handling the indisciplines. This means it affects the CEO, HR, management, base level employees, and again, the consumer, not directly, but indirectly. It goes through every stage because no one is safe from indiscipline. You could see CEOs with scandals and all this all the time. Having that effective workplace discipline is vital to a company's success. And if you don't have it and you have indiscipline, again, it'll affect the consumers, not directly, but indirectly, and no company wants that.
So now that we went through what is effective workplace discipline and why is it important to the companies, we're just going to run through the steps to create an effective workplace discipline plan. So the first step is know the law about workplace discipline. As a manager, you don't want to show favoritism, and you always want to collect that documentation and record of employee behavior so it can be referenced back to. Sometimes documentation and record of employee behavior does turn into legal documents, so you want to make sure it is professional and tracked. The second step is to establish clear rules for all employees. This can be done in the form of a handbook. When employees are hired, you can give them a handbook that goes through the general dress code, productivity expectations, mobile device policies, and illegal behavior punishable by law. So the third one is establish clear rules for your managers. You want to make sure that you have regular management meetings and trainings to get everybody on the same page about the discipline. You want to have a common form for all managers to use if written documentation is needed. You want everything to be clear, concise, and uniform across the board. Discipline for managers: if they neglect policies, you want to make sure that everybody's playing by the same rules. That is also part of the no favoritism. If somebody is not doing their job correctly, no matter who the manager is, they should be taking care of that in a timely manner. So the fourth step is decide the discipline methods. The most common is progressive discipline, which goes from verbal to written to final warning, which is also a written warning, down to probation, and then termination, which is kind of also illustrated on the side here in the picture. Major offenses and serious offenses can jump right to suspension or dismissal. The last step is make sure you document all employee discipline. You want to keep records. Like I said before, it could turn into a legal document if things do go that far. And then just some important things to remember about employee discipline. It is confidential with the employee and their manager. So like we said in previous slides, it's not meant to degrade employees and embarrass them. So you want to keep it confidential. Also, make sure you follow your own guidelines and stick to it. If you're bending the rules for someone versus someone else, it's not going to be as effective. And lastly, keep the right mindset when talking to your employees. Do not escalate the situation and make sure you keep a steady head. So that's all we got for you guys. And that's how you create an effective workplace discipline plan.